Do you believe there's a guy who once threatened the whole United States and jumped out of a plane in mid-air, leaving the FBI scratching their heads for half a century, not knowing who he was? That's DB. Cooper, or more accurately, Dan Cooper, the guy in a suit, sipping bourbon, calmly handing the flight attendant a note. "I have a bomb in my briefcase." He took $200,000 and parachuted into the wilderness, and boom, vanished from history. No body, no briefcase, only a few rotten bills washed up on the riverbank 8 years later, while the FBI scratched their heads writing reports as long as detective novels. But here's the exciting part. In 2025, the FBI's secret files finally leaked. 398 pages packed with suspects, testimonies, even a strange parachute appearing all the way in North Carolina. People suspect it belonged to Cooper or a guy named McCoy Jr. who pulled off an identical plane hijacking a few months later and was mysteriously shot dead. Just coincidence? Or did Cooper survive, change his name, and leave clues like Easter eggs for posterity? Try imagining you were the pilot back then, heart-pounding, knowing the guy was jumping into the darkness, wind howling outside the door, and from then on, no trace. Even crazier, a family of a suspect named Walter Rica dares to swear that he was Cooper, but DNA tests deny it completely. So ultimately, is Cooper sitting somewhere sipping cocktails, watching TV and laughing his ass off, while the whole United States is still diligently hunting him? If you're curious about the real secrets behind those thick file pages, don't forget to hit subscribe to the channel. You know, more than half a century has passed since that night, yet every time someone mentions DB, Cooper's name, the room gets thick with curiosity and doubt. Even now, every few years, America gets all stirred up over some new detail, a strange character, or evidence dug up from a dusty attic somewhere. Folks swear their quiet old neighbor down the street is Cooper himself. Or they cling to rumors about a former military guy who bragged about parachuting across all of America. The peak was in 2025, when the FBI's top-secret files finally cracked open. And you won't believe what's inside. 398 pages stacked high, crammed with handwritten notes, faded photos, weird leads, names, traces, bizarre testimonies, enough to fuel a whole Netflix series without running out of ideas. Right from the first page, investigators highlighted suspects in red ink, each with their own quirky background and identity. Then there's this odd parachute popping up all the way in North Carolina, where logically, no one jumps from Washington State and lands clear across the country like that. That alone blew up forums, because Americans hear parachute and cash, and it's instant buzz. And that parachute? It's linked to a guy named Richard Floyd McCoy Jr., who pulled off an almost identical plane hijacking a few months later and got mysteriously shot dead. Coincidence? Or did Cooper survive, change his name, and leave breadcrumbs like Easter eggs for posterity? The other side just laughs, saying it's all chance, that McCoy was inspired by the first heist, while Cooper's probably chilling somewhere, laughing his ass off as the whole country keeps obsessively hunting a ghost. The story doesn't stop there. When you flip through the testimonies, you'll find guys claiming to be accomplices, old classmates, even someone Cooper supposedly invited to flee to South America after the robbery. The FBI noted it all meticulously, stacking it into a mountain of paper. Maybe no case has dragged on this long, with so many crazy loops, leaving truth seekers sighing, then picking up the trail again, hoping one day they'll touch the real answer. Do Do you ever wonder what it would be like if you weren't just an outsider, but the pilot that night, the one holding the fate of over 40 lives on a plane drifting quietly through the American sky in 1971? Like a shadow in the dark? Back then, everything probably unfolded slower, sharper than any Hollywood film could capture. In the cockpit, red lights flickering on the control panel, the engine hum a heavy drone, and outside, endless clouds in moonless, starless blackness, painting streaks of city lights far below on the windows. You get the message from the flight attendant. There's a man in the back saying he has a bomb. He wants $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a direct flight to Mexico City. Your heart pounds, palms sweat, and every professional instinct kicks in at once. You know each decision affects not only the passengers' lives, but could make history in the worst way possible. The crew looks anxious, eyes darting to the rear cabin where the man in a dark suit sits calmly sipping bourbon, his face composed like a businessman prepping for a routine trip. His odd demands ramp up the tension. Full heat on, slow the plane to just enough for balance, fly lower than usual, and no interference when the rear door opens. You feel the cabin shift. No more casual chatter, just fearful whispers and wide eyes staring into the darkness behind, where he sits unmoved. When the plane lands in Seattle, all focus turns to the rear stairs. You hear his steady footsteps, unhurried. Even with the bag of cash and parachutes in hand, he's as casual as if boarding a night train home, not stepping into U.S. crime legend. Once demands are met, you pull the controls, turning the plane south toward Mexico, amid the whistling wind outside. Now, it's just the crew and the mysterious man. At some point over Washington's wilderness, the tail light flashes, the rear door is opening. You feel the icy air rush in, howling like a call between ghosts in the night. Then suddenly, no one in the crew dares look back. You sense something has happened, a moment you'll never forget. A man leaping into darkness, leaving a speeding plane between night and void, carrying hundreds of thousands in cash, unsolved secrets, and America's endless curiosity. From there, an unnatural silence falls. In the cockpit, you and your colleagues exchange glances, straining for any odd sound from the back. But nothing, just the steady engine roar and a strange hollowness. That night, no one knew they'd become part of a tale America hasn't stopped pondering, doubting and obsessing over 50 years later. Perhaps one such moment is all it takes to turn a person into an immortal legend. Do you think all this madness is enough? Flip back to the first pages of the case to see why America has been fixated on one name for half a century. D.B. Cooper. Actually, a misspelled name that stuck forever. That night, the man appeared at Portland Airport with a demeanor nothing like a criminal's. He was calm, neatly dressed, hair combed, polite to everyone. Holding a plain black briefcase, he stepped to the Northwest Orient check-in like a standard passenger, buying a one-way ticket to Seattle. No one noticed him. In fact, many remembered he even smiled at the flight attendant before boarding. Flight 305 was just a short hop between two major cities in the Pacific Northwest. No one expected the Boeing 727 to become the stage for a crime, unlike anything in criminal records. As the plane left the runway, Cooper sat quietly in the rear rows, ordered a bourbon and soda, like a gentleman enjoying the view. Only when everyone relaxed did he hand the attendant a note with cold words. "I have a bomb in my briefcase." Many thought it a joke, but Cooper gently opened the case, revealing wires and something like explosives. No yelling, no loud threats. He just whispered exchanges. He wanted $200,000 in cash, a huge sum in 1971, 4 parachutes, and upon landing in Seattle, immediate refueling for a southbound flight. All passengers would be released safely, as long as demands were met. As soon as the plane touched down in Seattle, police and FBI surrounded the airport. But Cooper stayed absolutely calm. He waited for everything to be arranged as requested. No anxiety, no rush. Passengers were let go. The briefcase of cash, meticulously marked by the FBI, was delivered. 4 parachutes brought aboard. Fuel topped up. While media outside started getting wind, inside the cabin, only the crew faced one of the strangest living legends in modern history. The plane took off again, this time heading to Mexico as per Cooper's orders. At this point, he told the crew to move forward, while he casually checked the parachutes, counted the money, studied the flight map. Somewhere over Washington's wilderness, in the dark and drizzling rain, Cooper opened the rear door, a maneuver few would dare mid-air. The sound of the stairs lowering rang like tearing the air. And then, as the pilot held breath watching the flashing indicator lights, the man vanished into the night, taking the entire sum with him. And this is where the hunt of the century began. The FBI compiled files thick as mountains, hundreds of agents, treasure hunters, paratroopers, amateur detectives, even locals scoured forests, riverbanks, small streams for traces. Dozens of suspects arrested, then released. Some identified just for matching names, some ex-Air Force, some just quiet town folks, all hauled in for questioning. Media exploded with theories. Some believed Cooper died on impact, body buried deep in the forest or drifted to sea. Others sure he survived, headed to Canada or South America to start anew with the cash briefcase. The strange thing is, despite years of pursuit, the FBI found no real trace of Cooper. No body, no briefcase, no parachute, no money, except a few rotten bills washed ashore on the Columbia River 8 years after the robbery. Those bills only added to the mystery. Why drift there? How still have matching serial numbers? Or did Cooper intentionally scatter them to mislead, so the FBI chased ghosts? Countless conspiracy theories emerged. Cooper was a protected agent, a super criminal, even an alien. Sounds funny, right? But amid the Cooper fever, no theory was deemed crazy. As long as it had a bit of logic, someone believed it. For half a century, no one came forward to confess, nor spent that marked money publicly. Cooper turned into a ghost, a legendary figure living forever in imagination and late-night bar talks. Americans call his name whenever discussing the most mysterious cases. And the FBI, though officially closing the file in 2016, hasn't really stopped searching, as if deep down everyone wants a conclusion to rest easy. Or at least to stop losing to a robber with a mysterious smile and polite suit. What makes the DB Cooper case swell into a national frenzy isn't just his bizarre evaporation, but how the American media turned the crime into a public legend. Right from the next morning, major and minor newspapers splashed the name DB. Cooper, in bold headlines, even though it was just a reporter's typo. The real name was Dan, but that mistake accidentally created a permanent criminal brand etched deep into America's memory. Anyone with a bit of imagination wanted to chime in over drinks. Radio analyzed the odds of surviving a parachute jump, TV recreated simulation models, and print papers sent reporters disguised as treasure hunters, wading into deep forests for traces of the Cooper ghost. The 1970s was a turbulent time in America. Society obsessed with mysterious crimes, anti-war movements, political scandals, and DB. Cooper naturally became golden material for every media outlet. Every year around Thanksgiving, TV replayed old news clips, interviewed FBI agents, even reenacted Cooper boarding the plane in dim light with dramatic music. Tabloids didn't lag, occasionally dropping exclusive confessions, self-proclaimed Coopers, or mysterious relics like hair strands, a tattered parachute piece, or strange letters mailed to newsrooms. American public opinion? Don't get me started, everyone had a take. Elders told grandkids like a modern fairy tale. Youth bet on who the real Cooper was. Eccentrics organized DB. Cooper Day, festivals, dressing in suits, black glasses, carrying briefcases to bars for Cooper parachute games with spring mattresses. Analysts dove into every angle. Was Cooper military trained or just a reckless amateur? Groups even mapped connected U.S. plane crimes, believing Cooper part of a secret organization testing federal security. Not stopping there, the 80s, 90s media exploded with hunts for the real Cooper via reality TV, with twists even wilder than novels. Theories he was a Soviet spy, a disgraced pilot, or a failed inventor wanting one last luck test. Every few years, a book, TV series, or Netflix doc drops new clues, mostly based on accounts or guesses. But each time, Americans relive the thrill like the first hearing of a robber parachuting into night sky. Social media today drags the case into the digital age. Reddit, Facebook forums flooded with debates on drop zones, logical flight paths, even groups decoding serial numbers on every rotted bill found. Heck, many conspiracy theories sound like jokes, but thousands believe. Like Cooper protected by CIA turned into a TV game character, or still alive somewhere in South America with a mountain villa, watching docs about himself every evening. Even crazier, whenever someone finds an old parachute, strange briefcase, or skeleton in Northwest woods, American media goes feverish for days, then back to normal. Sometimes just a weird shoe print or Dan scrap paper sparks news hounds, online arguments lasting months. Foreign press even calls it America's most beautifully half-baked tragedy, because it's tragic comic, bursting with adventurous spirit of old America. In the end, Cooper isn't just a robber, but a pop culture icon, appearing in X-Files episodes, comics, rock songs, even DB. Cooper's ale beer selling hot on robbery anniversaries. In America's memory, Cooper reminds that some things remain unexplained. And who knows, on a rainy evening, an old man in a vintage suit might step into a bar, smile lifting a bourbon, then vanish like a joke stretched over half a century. In the end, what makes DB Cooper immortal in America's mind isn't just a robber vanishing mid-sky or mountains of unsolved files, but the feeling. Any of us could become part of the legend. Think about it. In the 21st century full of cameras, GPS chips, AI, and millions ready to live stream every moment, who dares do something so bold that America remains helpless for over 50 years? Or simply, sometimes secrets need a ghost to remind society. There are still things you can't just Google the answer to. Maybe right now, DB. Cooper is truly resting under a cold pine forest, or changed his name, living a quiet life in a small town, sipping coffee every morning, then quietly turning on the TV to watch himself on old news. Or maybe, as millions of Americans love to believe, he's chuckling somewhere, reading every online comment, knowing for sure people will never stop talking about a case with no beginning or end. And that's the ultimate victory of an unknown guy against the world's most advanced hunting system. Was Cooper just a lucky daredevil, or a true genius shapeshifter in the heart of America? Do you think one day someone will find the final evidence fully solving this mystery? Or is this one of those stories that lives forever in imagination, where everyone has their own theory, a quiet belief, or simply a fun tale to tell friends every Thanksgiving? If you're curious about the unfinished clues, the FBI details never revealed, or want to decode the DB, Cooper case yourself with millions of other Americans. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Next video, I'll expose the newly declassified secrets, analyze the craziest theories, and who knows, you might spot the missing piece for all of America. What do you think? Where is Cooper now? Comment your theory below. I'll read every single one, and who knows, one story might become the hottest topic for the next video. Don't miss out, because mysteries always have room for those who dare to ask questions.